By Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Hazelnut Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. If you have a question for Kyle, please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation, and we'll get you a microphone.
Hazelnut spread, by the way.
Hazelnut spread.
Okay, good.
Down.
Bob Pockers, Fox Sports. Was there any consideration put in Rudy Fugle with one of your full-time guys? And can you kind of talk about the reasons for the crew chief changes overall on the truck side?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's kind of been some struggles with, results and success and things like that with our two full-time teams. And so, I'm never happy with, just being mediocre and not being able to go out there and have our guys perform and do a good job. So there's kind of been some tension a little bit between a couple of the teams, and so just figured we'd switch it up some. We're going to try one thing here for a couple weeks, and then I've got something else up my sleeve for after that. So don't get ahead of yourself too much, Bob.
So you think Rudy could be one of those full-time guys?
There you have it.
Okay.
You said it, I didn't.
All right.
Kyle, initially when you were talking about the frustration over the program before you made the changes, you said how you finished and how they finished, and that they were not living up to your expectations. And initially I thought, well, he's Kyle Busch. I mean, obviously, how can they match up with him? Talking to Rudy Fugle on the air last night, he was like, well, no, we've had people in our camp beat Kyle, and that's our expectation. Can you address, because everybody knows how good you are, when you made the initial comment, it was like, I win and they're finishing here, right? So do you expect them to be able to match with you, and can your organization do that?
Well, so here's the deal. I look at guys like Eric Jones, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace. Bubba struggled for the first year, but then the second year he was on. Like, we went to Kentucky, and Bubba and myself, like, we checked out, him and I together. Eric Jones and myself last year at Michigan, him and I, we ran together, and third place was 8-9 seconds behind us. You know what I mean? So there is opportunity there for these guys if they're going to be good and they're going to be successful and they're going to have an opportunity to move up the ladder. They need to be able to show it. William Byron won 7 times. Eric Jones won 5 times. Christopher Bell won 5-6 times. The guys that are moving up and doing what they're supposed to be doing are successful, and they can have success and have shown success in Xfinity and Cup. We'll see. Jones is still working on it, I guess, and Christopher's not quite there yet. Noah, for instance, he won one race one year and one race another year, and we're now kind of seeing where he's at in the Xfinity series with the results that he's kind of getting there. So if you win, and you win a lot in the KBM trucks, then you're going to be a better driver. So if you can't get it done in a KBM truck, you might as well go home.
We'll go to Lee down here in the front.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Is Hillman living up to your expectations?
Hillman is, yeah. What's funny about Hillman is he was the lead crew chief over at Germain for a long, long time, and I competed against him and absolutely hated him because of how good him and Todd were for a long time, Bodine. And then, Rudy actually Rudy was hired at Germain by Hillman and was kind of an engineer there, and then kind of became a crew chief there. I think it was Justin Lofton years ago, and then kind of phased out of there. I don't remember if we hired him or if we hired him from somewhere else, Rudy, that is. And, so it's interesting now that Rudy's kind of Hillman's boss, if you look at it that way. But overall, I mean, Hillman's been doing a fine job. Certainly, I think with the way all of these cars evolve, trucks evolve, setups evolve, all that stuff kind of happens over the years. Guys have to relearn things or learn new things to kind of keep up with the tricks of the trade. And Hillman's right there with him. He's doing a really good job. He's picking up on it. I wouldn't say he's got an engineering background, but he certainly understands vehicle dynamics and has a sense of knowing what makes cars go fast. And so he's doing fine. I think, Marcus is the same way. If I had to pick exactly where I would rank Truck Series crew chiefs, I would say Rudy's number 1. I think Hillman's number 2. There's a couple guys you could argue that are 3 and 4, and I think Marcus is 5th. So like I have 3 of the top 5 guys in the series that are within my building. So there's no reason why they all can't be successful with any of the drivers that come through our system.
And what are your expectations for Sonoma when they add the carousel? Harvick said he was already in the simulator because he wanted to get a feel for it. Do you expect, if you haven't already been in, to go in sometime between now and Sonoma?
Yeah, I probably will. I kind of always go to the simulator every year. Well, not every year. I've been to the simulator before, and I've been to the racetrack, and it's hurt me. I've been to the simulator before, and I've been to the racetrack, and it's helped me. So it can go either way. Just kind of depends. But the carousel coming back, it's kind of interesting. I thought back about it earlier, or when they made the announcement, I was like, oh, well, you look back to '98 when they added the chute, and it's like, oh, that was a hell of a lot of wasted money. Now we're just going back to what it was. But overall, just having the carousel come back, I don't think it's going to change the racing dynamic a whole lot of what that race looks like. It's just going to add in a new, like there's a ramp almost kind of getting into the carousel. Like you got to be out of the gas before going up and over that hill, and then kind of throttle back into the turn. That's what I remember when I was there. I ran the course back in 1998 with Legends cars. But these cars are going to be entirely different than Legends cars, so we're definitely going to have some relearning to do, but at least I know where I'm going when I'm down there.
Dustin down here.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Obviously, drivers come from different backgrounds, and you certainly had the experience with William Byron with his background with not getting in cars as quickly. Do you foresee that can be a little bit more of a path, or that may become more of a path as years progress? Is that it's somebody who maybe gets more experience in online until getting into a car till like their early teens or something like that? Or is William Byron, in your view, just that's such a rare example that people who trying to follow that's kind of chasing after ghosts or something? Yeah,
no, William's certainly a rare example for sure, and I could tell you that there's a few sim guys out there that think they could do anything with a race car, but yet they get into something and they're scared to death of it. There was actually a competition for sim drivers to be able to win a chance to go to the Race of Champions, and so when they did that, like the top sim guy in the world, whatever, came to Race of Champions and got his ass handed to him. He wasn't even within 3 seconds of any of us. You know what I mean? So real life is completely different than the sim life. And so, William is certainly an anomaly from that. He's done a fantastic job of how he kind of grew up with that to then being able to translate it to the racetrack, be successful, still do it to today from my understanding. And so that's good for him. I did some of that stuff. I did some computer online racing, things like that. This is back in the early days, man. This is still when the internet was just still dial-up. So, but I remember practicing doing some of that stuff back then. And whether or not that made me who I am to today, I have no idea. But, it kind of gave me a sense, I guess.
But you have such you can dissect the car so well that's something I'm guessing you've got years and years and years of just being in a car that if I started out and I started out 6, 7 years behind you without the gaming, it's going to be tough for me to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no perfect way, man. There's no perfect road. I would have to say that my understandings, my vehicle understandings, and the reason why I'm somewhat successful at what I've done is a huge credit to my dad. Growing up in the shop, working on the cars, building the cars, understanding what springs were and meant and how to rate them and what corner to put them in and shocks and cambers and casters, like all of that sort of stuff I learned. I built my cars from the ground up with my dad. I tore my Legends car apart one off season. We were done racing for the year. I ripped it all the way down to the ground because I was like, at least if I strip it, he'll be okay if I wanted to paint it, right? To repaint the chassis and kind of go through everything. I stripped it all the way down and was like, all right, I'm ready. Let's take it to the paint shop. And he was like, nope, I'll buy you a can of spray can and then you can put it all back together by yourself. And I was like, that didn't work. So I mean, that's just everybody has their own different paths of how they grow up and how they understand things and what they understand. And I've certainly learned a hell of a lot through my career and being here and experience, and many of these other drivers will as well too. It's just the matter of your surroundings and the people that are around you.
Go to Rob right back here.
Rob T. Youngson of the podiumfinish.net. I got a couple questions for you, Kyle. With Father's Day weekend coming around the corner, what's some of your favorite memories of it with your dad and also now being a dad to your son, Brexton? And then my other question is, how have you been able to stay true to yourself despite the differing opinions that may come from fans and some of the critiques you may get from us press?
Yeah, so being a dad, growing up with my dad, he was the one who took me to the racetrack all the time. My mom was there on occasion here or there, but she kind of left and went with Kurt more often than not, because when Kurt started touring series, he couldn't rent a car, you know, so she had to go with him to help him and all that. So Dad was with me, and so you know, I've had some fantastic moments of Father's Day moments. I remember, you know, racing on Father's Day weekend a couple times here or there, winning Legends car races or whatever and stuff. And, you know, vacations were limited. We didn't do vacations, so it was always something at the racetrack would be the best memory of mine. And you know, Brexton, he's still kind of young. You know, we do the Mother's Day thing, the Father's Day thing, but I don't think he really gives it a true meaning quite yet. He's only 4, but it's still fun to have him. He's with me every single weekend. We travel all the time. We stay as a collective group, a unit, and a family, so I can be there for many of the moments that he has. And then how do I stay true to myself? Just do. I don't listen to y'all. Just do what I do. You know, everybody has their own opinion, just like everybody has their own, you know what. So I don't really worry about that, and I tell it like it is. I tell the truth, and I focus on what I need to focus on when that point comes too.
Go back to Lee right here.
You talked about not taking vacations as a kid because it was all about racing with you and your brother and Tom. But you have a week off next week. How is your family going to relax and take advantage of a week without racing?
So what do I have? I've got a couple. I always put my doctor's treatments and things like that. Like, we all have to go see the doctor every once in a while, right? So I put all that stuff off for off weeks. So I've got a couple doctor's appointments next week. And then Sunday on Father's Day, we're going to fly out to Idaho to go see Brian Scott and his family and go to the sand dunes and go hang out. My dad will be out there. Brexton will be out there, Samantha, and a couple of my buddies. Biffle will be out there. So we're all going to go hang out and have a good time at the sand dunes for a few days before then heading on straight over to Sonoma and then being there for the race weekend in Sonoma.
Really had a normal life, but what do you think a weekend would look like if you just could do whatever it was that you would do on a weekend? I mean, none of us really do, but
Yeah.
what would a Kyle Busch weekend look like?
I don't know. It can be anything. I mean, typically you think, man, you guys travel so much. Wouldn't you just want a week at home? And yeah, certainly I would want a weekend at home. That's what we do that in the off season. You know, we spend much of the off season at home. Yeah, we go travel maybe to the Bahamas or somewhere in the Caribbean or whatever to go on a vacation for, 4, 5, 6 days, whatever it might be. And that'll probably be something we do on the next off week. But overall, it's just, we're kind of we're young enough, we're healthy enough, we're kind of an active family, and so we go do things, and we don't necessarily just sit at home, dwell at home, and be homebodies. We like to do that occasionally. Yeah, we go down in the theater, watch a movie, whatever. But other than that, it's trying to find something to do, go for a hike, go out with friends, go on the water, whatever.
Chris, right here.
Man, we can keep this going all day. Is there practice later? Enjoy it.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Something that's kind of been overlooked in the whole crew chief swap deal is Michael Shelton. He's kind of one of those guys that flies under the radar but does a good job, has a championship with Buescher and whatnot. How does he fit into your guys' mold, and do you think that maybe that could turn into something more for him?
Yeah, so Shelton's an interesting position. So we have our 4th team that we run on occasion, and we don't really want a full-time crew chief to be involved in the shop and everything and the whole dynamic, but we do want a guy that understands what we have going on and can come in and fit right in and be able to go to the racetrack, make race calls, make decisions in practice, be a smart leader. And he's that perfect role for us. We don't have to cover his salary for day-to-day or insurance or anything like that. He's got a real day job, but then he can come in, we can pay him for the weekends that we need him and for the days that we need him in the shop. So that he was to fit that 46 role. Well, now we're kind of, for a couple weeks, we're going to try him. He couldn't do it this week because he had some other prior family engagements that he had for Texas. So he would have been there for Texas if it wasn't for that. So he'll be in for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll figure out what the next shakeup's going to be after that, to seeing how results go in the interim.
All the way on the left here.
Hi, Kyle. New fan, by the way, new media guy here.
Welcome. Hopefully everybody here's treated you nice.
Oh, it's been great here, by the way.
Good.
MIS, thank you. And to Brad also. Being a new fan, going back to that question, when was the last time you changed your oil?
Changed my oil?
Yeah, you
In
did
any
it.
of my cars?
Yeah.
Well, I did change the oil in my sand car probably a year and a half ago, I guess. I didn't do it this last time. My other guys did, so I skipped out on that. But I used Mobile One. Was that what you were going to ask? What I
Sure.
used?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can throw that in.
I haven't changed oil in my street car since man, it's been a while.
And what's your favorite M&Ms?
Crispy are my favorite M&Ms. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved crispy. And 2015 also meant a lot, being able to run the green crispy car and win a championship. So it's kind of stuck with me.
By the way, I'm Eddie Fury, WMIC, Sound Like Broadcasting. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Kyle.
Good. All
Thank
right,
you.
cool. Thanks. Have fun.